I think what makes Austin interesting is that local character. We have a local identity, I think, that is very specific and very interesting and that we don't want to get lost.
The creative community in Austin is thriving. There's abundant opportunity for collaboration and for amazing work to be created.
So we are just a rich canvas of the arts here.
What we do have is a homegrown vibe that's very distinctive and different from anywhere else, and that is completely 100% driven by the creative sector.
This town, Austin, is branded behind the creative community. And unless we learn to speak in a singular voice, that creative community is going to be threatened more and more and more on a daily basis.
Particularly with the scale of the changes that we're undergoing as a city, the arts can get lost. Everyone just assumes that they'll happen, but that's not really true. You need political support, you need economic support.
The Austin creative scene is facing a crisis of affordability issues. There are lots of fantastic arts organizations losing their leases.
The ability for nonprofits and arts organizations to secure their own facility and their own property is very, very difficult. And as the years progress, we're seeing more and more of our cultural institutions losing their spaces.
Every year, it's always an ongoing struggle to find space to present and to find space to rehearse that's affordable.
It really will take, I think, a community effort. A lot of organizations, a lot of artists, a lot of leaders and advocates getting behind an effort to keep Austin creative.
How do we empower our creatives and artists and musicians to work together to solve the affordability issues we all have?
ACA was created to be the vehicle where people come together and talk about whatever's facing us at any given time. It just so happens that right now we're in a moment where the same issues are facing everyone in the creative scenes.
What I believe is that the Austin Creative Alliance is the one place where we have an opportunity to create a singular voice. A voice that will be heard at the city and the state level and sometimes at the federal level.
We want artists to be artists. We want to be an economic engine, and it involves everyone.
What the creative community needs the most from ACA is the things that we can't do for ourselves. We need to be in the studios and on stage making the art that makes this town great.
Small organizations cannot do it alone. They need a track record, they need the ability to acquire insurance, they need the ability to negotiate, talking with the city on so many levels. And that's where the Austin Creative Alliance steps in and why we're so grateful for them as a partnership.
It really enabled us to get a lot more support from other places. The fact that I can be sponsored by ACA just leaves me free to do what I do, which is choreograph and dance.
I'm so grateful we have the ACA. Being able to have access to city grants has allowed us to kind of take a step up in terms of our budgets for our shows. So we're able to have higher production quality, we're able to pay our local artists better, we're able to secure larger venues.
You don't feel like you're alone. You feel like somebody is really, you have an umbrella with ACA. You know that ACA always has your back.
What ACA really did for us and helped so much was with our insurance.
If it hadn't been for ACA, we wouldn't have had insurance, and if we didn't have the insurance, there would be no show.
And so being able to scale an idea to actually come into the world is what ACA helps us to do.
Everybody needs some help. All artists do, all organizations who are trying to attempt something and get into a field need a little help. And I think ACA, it's a fabulous resource.
Without the Creative Alliance, I think a lot of us would not be able to do what we do. We wouldn't be able to put on shows, we wouldn't be able to put on these productions and just practice our art the way that we're able to.
I believe that the role of the Austin Creative Alliance is a pretty enormous one. I think it's one that's going to evolve over time. Austin Creative Alliance is already having great impact because we're beginning to have that collective voice.
And there's always a tendency of people to try to, work within their own tribe when we realize we have to expand our boundaries to include people in similar tribes.
There's all kind of creative ways to help us support the arts, and I think the arts really are important to the vitality, to the quality of life of folks that are within any city.
It was the creative vibe in Austin that drove this growth. And we can't allow the growth to kill the vibe, that's the golden goose right there.
I think right now that the Austin Creative Alliance is really working very hard to form a very solid voice that brings the arts together, and what we need to put in place to make sure that as we grow exponentially as a city, that we don't lose it.
We need, as arts organizations and artists, to support that organization so they have the weight and the authority to advocate for us.
There are many ways to serve this cause, not all of them financial. Some of them will be financial.
My simple call to action is to support Austin Creative Alliance and support a shift in thinking about creativity and innovation, that those two things go together and that we need our creativity to thrive.
I can't fathom the creative community not ultimately being able to come to its full senses, realize its full political power, and I think the Austin Creative Alliance is that unifying force, so I'm very optimistic and very hopeful.
We all have a duty to support the arts.
Give and generously and come to see our work.
Go to a live music show. Purchase a piece of art. There's a few dozen places you could go to see a dance performance. You could go to see a theater performance at a half dozen places tonight.
Bring a friend that doesn't normally go to a show, buy them a ticket.
Become a member of the ACA and educate yourself on the issues that face the creative community.
The town will be better for it. You'll certainly be helping some extraordinarily gifted people, and ultimately I think you enrich yourself to the greatest possible degree.
We know how to do this because I believe that creativity has an enormous part of the soul and the spirit of what makes Austin, Austin.